That's a little theme song. We got a theme song going.
We do.
Nice.
Hey everyone, my name is Jericho Kean. This is my friend Elijah. We are here for the very first episode of the Nightly Chatter podcast, and this is all new for us. This is a new
Very
new
new.
platform we're using. So, yeah, you guys may remember the Nerd of the Game Table podcast, which was mainly D&D games, which Eli was part of. He also dungeon mastered a few times. Um, but this is a little bit different. Something I found with doing D&D podcasts was D&D became less fun when you had to record it.
Yeah.
And also, I want to be able to do something easier to make, a little bit less editing, and just kind of talk about medieval stuff, fantasy stuff, cool stuff like that. So, yeah, Nightly Chatter, we're here.
Allows us to do more.
Yes, allows us to do more and less at the same time.
Yeah.
We do
More
have
fun,
another.
less work.
We do have another host who is unable to make it this time, but hopefully he will be here next episode. But we will see. So first off, yes, I'm Jericho Kean, otherwise known as Meldar the Merman. I'm kind of the person who founded Redemption Studios. But why don't you introduce yourself? Because, yes, people might not recognize your face as much.
So my name is Eli. I played Christian Ondella in the Nerds of the Game Table. He is a Paladin Warlock multi-class. And then the name below, Rayloff Saltborn. That's my character from Weekend Warrior Experience, which is LARP event over down South Carolina.
For
A little
context,
bit,
that's also what my name is from.
yes. And then just like I guess nerd background, playing the D&D for 5 years, Magic longer, just kind of all about it, as you can tell from the background and stuff. Yeah, I like mainly the medieval world stuff. I'm a big history buff that way, so talking about nightly chatter at night. We gotta come up with a slogan. Slogan's gonna be important because we gotta throw that in there.
See, I had somewhere I had like a bunch of slogan ideas, but I conveniently forgot to bring up that document before starting this. So
This is gonna be the pilot episode.
This is the pilot episode, but also another thing while we're at the first episode, if anybody has any connections to Sabaton or a band that sounds like Sabaton that wants to make us an intro song, that'd be awesome.
Yes.
Might happen to be huge Sabaton fans.
We don't have money, but we do have dice. So
it's true. We have dice. We have cool medieval stuff. We have swords. We both have swords.
we do have swords actively in the background.
Helmets, maps. Yeah. So that's
Shields,
that. So Eli, how did you? For those who might not know, how did you kind of get involved with Redemption Studios? Because you've been part of the crew for a while now. Granted, we haven't filmed anything in a while, but you've been part of the team for a while. You worked on Han Solo with us and some other stuff. So why don't you share about that a little bit?
Sure. I got first hooked up with Redemption Studios through you. I think summer 2018 or 2019, you started filming Han, reached out to me just to be like behind the scenes guy, needed help with lights and stuff, maybe act here and there. So I said, sure, why not? Thinking it'd be fine. But then you wrote me in as like third lead actor in that, which I had zero acting experience going into. There's also a lot of makeup and stuff. It was like a total blue face alien guy. But
Black's
Firestorm. Very, very cool guy. But I wasn't expecting that, so kind of getting roped into that was pretty cool. And then just kind of connecting through love for playing Magic after we would film. Kind of got us talk about more medieval projects. That kind of led into your future projects with Maldar and everything with that coming up, as people have seen on the YouTube channel. Got hooked up with that more. Then Weekend Warrior, obviously, we all got roped in that pretty good. That's kind of where my passion lies. We've gone, dang, will it be 4 years? Yeah, 4 years this year.
This will be our 4th year, yeah.
2024. So we've been doing it for a small while, but yeah, just kind of got the love for it. Then I've acted in a couple other different things. I've been Chewbacca a couple times. We did some side roles with that. Just behind the scenes guy. The main core memories I have where you were filming the one scene in the Falcon Pit, and I was the guy holding the tripod light out because the weird light angle wasn't working with the camera we were using. So we had to hold the whole light outward. So I'm just like behind it eating a Pop-Tart, trying to be quiet because I just really wanted lunch that day. And I was like, okay, I could probably see myself doing this full time. So just like holding that light bulb there, nearly burning my hand, eating a Pop-Tart. Like, yeah, do you need more light? Okay, here you go. And just that whole moment.
That's amazing. It's funny you bring that up because every time we filmed, I'm pretty sure I ate like breakfast and nothing else that day until after we finished filming. There was like never snacks, or there was snacks, but there was never lunch.
No, there was never lunch, which was upsetting. But
like the few times I've been on an actual set for like a commercial or something, it's exactly like that. There's really not. People will snack, but you don't really get.
Except for Zach drinking 9 gallons of iced tea during the whole set because he always had to refill his cup.
It was the Hawaiian Punch. That was funny because the whole joke was the Glax Firestorm thing we based the characters from. For context, our friend Zach, who's one of the co-writers, producers on the Han film, he had a teacher in high school who made a Star Wars spoof called Glax Firestorm. We took the characters from that and put them in our Han Solo fan film. One of the characters named Randar Chrome, there was one scene in one of those movies where he had a drink that was red and he kept drinking it. And for some reason, we thought it'd be funny to make it every single shot of him. He was always holding a drink in his hand. And it's consistent through the whole movie. But we kept having to refill it throughout because he would keep drinking it in every shot and it would be inconsistent. But
yeah, because there's fun, like constant scenes when it gets fuller and fuller as he's drinking it. I think there's like one part of that film that straight up just gets fuller as he's drinking it. And again, because he kept on drinking.
I remember him spilling it on himself a few times and just keep going because it was like, what else are you gonna do?
Yeah, so it's just like there's stains and it would dry off.
Yeah. So kind of building on that, how did you get into, I guess, medieval fantasy stuff? Like, for me personally, I remember playing with like toy knights with some of my friends as a kid. Like even before I discovered like Lord of the Rings, I was kind of into like the knights and horses and stuff. And then through Legos, when Lego started making the Lord of the Rings sets, that's what got me into the movies. And then from there, I kind of just got more into it. But what about you?
That's actually where I got hooked into. We were buying Lego sets, mainly Lego City, and just Lego like generic sets, Ninjago for a little bit. But then the Lord of the Rings sets came out. I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. So actually, kind of funny enough, you get it. I have the whole set on my desk. So these are actually the original ones I got into playing with. But so we started playing with those, and it's like, okay, like what's the Lord of the Rings? I know my dad watches it. I think he has like a Gollum action figure somewhere. Let's check it out. So we watched it, like, oh wow, this is kind of awesome. I really like this. So then me and my sister, we started buying the action figures, like the real Lord of the Rings 6-inch doll action figures. We bought those, and we have like a tub of them upstairs, and it's literally we have like a huge tub of these guys. We have a ton of them. And we'd always play with them. We'd make up stories and stuff. And that kind of outbranched when we'd go on our swing set and we just talk out stories. And we'd like role play these stories, talk them out. Then we got a set of cold steel, like really durable plastic swords. And we'd fight with those. Well, hey, let's learn how to use swords. So we actually looked up combat lessons. And Grace became really good with a sword. And then we're like, what about archery? Let's do archery. We started doing archery. I shoot longbow, she shoots a recurve bow, and we got really good at that. And then I started just diving more personally. Okay, Lord of the Rings is cool, obviously fantasy. What was it really like? So I started diving more into the history of like actual like 10th to 14th century of like England, Ireland, German, Europe, of like how their culture wrapped around this and how it functioned, of where just how it all came to be and how much it actually affects our lives now. A lot of things that came from that time period really affects us now. Like there's just things in our culture, in our church, why we do things this way. Certain even laws are all from that time period of where it just kind of reflects into me. That was like super, super interesting. So I just deep dove into that end, and then everything else followed suit. So whereas more it's, yeah, I play Magic, I LARP, I do all that stuff, and that's fun. But there's history side of it too, where I like to study about this and learn more about this too. I don't have a college degree in it or anything like that, but I know a ton about it just because if I'm not doing something, I'm listening to a podcast, I'm reading this about this king that lived or whatever.
That's really cool. Because that's something I need to learn more about is the history of it. Because I know
it's wild.
I've looked into it a little bit. But that's another thing that this podcast is for, is to talk medieval history and stuff. Yeah, for me it was similar. It was around probably 11, 12, 13 when I first got into Lord of the Rings. Through that and some other inspirations, I started Redemption Studios around the same time doing the Armor of God movies. And that was kind of my own fantasy thing, which I'm still actually creating in some sense. I'm currently working on a book for it instead of a film, because eventually, hopefully, it'll become a film. But side tangent. So that was kind of my thing. We actually got like prop swords, and I to this day have no idea how our parents let us do it when we were like 13, 14, using like real swords for these movies and fighting each other. There was like a few times people got cut. It didn't happen that much. I thought about it the other day. It's really funny. When I was like 13, I'm fighting with real swords in my backyard with my friends. Now that I'm adult, I use foam ones.
You downgraded.
I downgraded. Yeah, that's really funny. So how there did you get into D&D? Because you've been running our campaign, something that I kind of mentioned on one of my Instagram posts. The character of Maldar hugely came from my own imagination, inspiration from The Witcher, Aragorn, stuff like that. But more than anything, I think this 3-year running campaign has developed this character, that Weekend Warrior. So how did you get into DMing, and like, I guess kind of what goes into it for you as a dungeon master that's been running a campaign for 3 years?
So my I guess first exposure to D&D, we were at our old church. There was this family there, and the husband, big time D&D guy. So I like saw all the books and saw the dice and the miniatures and the maps, and started like, oh, this is kind of cool, because I never got them. I was a big like train model kid, like the really cool elaborate train with the tall stuff. Like that was always cool to me. It's like, oh, this kind of looks like that. That'd be cool. So I was aware of it. Then I saw it in some like TV shows referenced it, like South Park referenced it and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, I kind of know what it is. Not really. Then a friend of mine named Zach, he shot out like, hey, I'm doing a one shot. You want to be a part of it? Like, yeah, sure, why not? So he sent me I still actually have it hanging on the back of my wall. He has this invitation letter he sent me, and he made the paper look aged with like coffee, and sent it like, help, you're needed at bleep 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 address, which is his house address. Be here 6:00 the 14th of June or whatever. It's like, oh wow, this is really cool, because like now there's a storyline, now there's a plot. and we did a one shot outside, and it was the only good outside D&D experience I ever had. Everything else but I was beyond terrible. And it was really cool. We had this really cool time. We built story. I didn't know what I was doing. It just seemed like a math game with rocks at the time. Like, oh, this is kind of cool. So we did that for a little bit. I kind of got into that, and then I kind of even have it. Like at one point, I decided like, I'll try to do this DM thing. You know, try to be the dungeon master, make up a story. So I got 4 of my friends, you being one, and I made up the story, made up a whole world. Like, okay, I'm not put like too much thought into this, and we'll just try to write it out. Like the original story, you're in this world that shall not be named due to copyright laws, and because it's not my name, and there's this fort, and there's goblins attacking it. What are you gonna do? And I just kind of made up a story, kind of hodgepodge. It had this bad guy, had bought a big old knight mini they attacked. It was cool. Like, it'd be kind of cool if the bad guy did this instead. We would kind of continue the story. Like, that'd be kind of a cool way to do a world. So I got a program called Incarnate, really cool map making program. And I just
Incarnate, sponsor us, please.
Yes, please. And I just messed around with it for like 4 hours. Like, okay, this is kind of a cool map. This is kind of taking shape. Like, well, okay, if we went from this point and the bad guy had this point and he kind of got killed, what happens next? So I kind of made this whole world in my head. I was like, okay, let's try running a campaign. It's going to go for like a month. We'll see what happens. We'll start them off at level 1. We'll just take it slow. 3 going on 4 years this year. They're level 20 to 19 now. The whole plot's taking shape. And it's been really cool because you get to see where not only the character, but the player developed too throughout it, which is really cool to see. Just kind of seeing how we've changed and how that is reflected in the character. It's been really cool to see that because this campaign, we've also, it's been one of our favorite ones so far. At least it's been my favorite. This world that copyright cannot be named on this podcast. It's kind of like my baby. It's been really fun. It's coming up to an end soon, which is going to be, I think, emotional. I'm gonna be a little bit upset when it happens. I'm gonna try not to cry, but it's been really cool because you get an emotional attachment to these characters. Like, you've seen them for so long. You've gone through all these highs, lows. It's like from VeggieTales, you laughed, you cried, you moved me, Bob. It's really got to close points of where, okay, this is now happening. In the middle of this, we started Nerd at the Game Table podcast, which was a whole other group of characters I'm still attached to. And that's kind of come back too. We kind of lost that through post-COVID. But then it's kind of just been a part of that. I have 3 active games going on right now. I have the Copyright Cannot Be Named. I have the one at my job I do. So, yeah. It just kind of became a little bit of who I am a little bit. We're like, oh, you don't play D&D? Well, hey, check this out. It's like a gateway drug. It's just really expensive.
Because D&D is better than other drugs.
It is. Which D&D, the one thing that's just so fun about it, you can literally do it for free. You can get a dice rolling app for free. You can get the printable paper for free. Everybody has a pen, and use your mind. Come up with something fun. So it makes it really affordable for everyone. Like, sure, you can get the accessories from the Wizards of the Coast, sponsor us, through them and all that. But you don't have to. You can just do it for free with friends. Like, I haven't played D&D at CSB, at a Christian Service Brigade, which is like Christian Boy Scouts. We played it there. Like, oh yeah, let's do D&D. This could be fun. And we did it. And it was a super, super fun time. And again, it was so much fun, but we all spent $0 on it. It was just a literal 3-ring binder as the DM screen with Post-it notes on it with reminders of the rules. And we all use rocks we found outside, use Sharpie on it to draw our character on it. And the bad guys were marshmallows and s'mores and graham crackers. That's what we had. We were playing in a cabin. It was crazy fun. But yeah, that's like a fun little way just to get friends, because you get to open them up. You get to know people really fast through D&D. It's really a version of speed dating. It's been really cool to get to know. Then through that, through talking to friends, I got into Magic, and that's just expensive because you need to buy the cards, but highly addictive game. Very fun
Don't
game.
even get me started on Warhammer.
Warhammer's worse. We got into that too. Kind of, if it's made by Games Workshop or Wizards of the Coast, I own it, unfortunately. But
Yeah, that's cool because like I've done a couple campaigns here and there, and I've always been a storyteller. I've always had ideas for stories and creative things in videos or whatever. So dungeon mastering was kind of a natural thing. But I've really enjoyed playing because it's been a while since I've been a DM. Um,
it has been a little bit.
for a while I did it for almost
Ever.
a year, I think, and then yeah, now I'm playing in 2 campaigns, which has been
Mm-hmm.
really fun. Maldar as a character has grown. He's been through so much trauma. It's an
Really has
understatement.
been through the
Um,
ringer.
but yeah, it's been really cool to play through that. Like you said, I think I'm gonna be extremely emotional because even though the characters are pretend they're real characters and you grow real attachments and those relationships are real and the emotions
Oh
are
yeah,
real. So
feels like
yeah,
a small party dies whenever it ends. Like, man, I don't get to play this guy anymore because this guy's
and like
cool.
you said, getting to know people so fast. Noah,
Yeah, Noah just kind of hopped
like
in and
that's how I met Noah was through that campaign, and now I'm
yeah,
like really good friends with him, and he's actually going to Weekend Warrior this year. So
yeah. But
um, it,
all of y'all will probably get to talk to him here at some point. We'll probably have him on,
yeah.
but like aware
My
like
plan is to
he's
actually, whenever we go to training grounds, to do an episode after that to kind of get his thoughts on his introduction to it because he's never gone to it yet. So,
nice.
um, let's see, D&D. Hmm. I feel like that's probably a good transition to Weekend Warrior,
Definitely.
considering this has become such a big part of our lives.
Mm-hmm.
Um, how did what is Weekend Warrior? How did it come to be with us? What's it been like? Tell me a little bit about your character for Weekend Warrior.
So kind of like overall just how I came to be. That's your fault, and I blame you for that. My wallet does at
It's
least.
Ron.
It's
It's Ron's
Ron.
fault.
So
Ron Newcomb, one of the founders of the event, I have known through indie film and stuff, and he posted about it. So go ahead.
I kind of found him through the Fellowship, which is a great movie. Like, oh, this is cool. And he's like, oh, hey, he does this. Like, yeah, I'll check this out. So I kind of went through it a bit. 2021, first year that we went, I decided to join the Rangers, which kind of seemed cool. Robin Hood. That was like pretty cool. The kit wasn't plate armor. I wasn't financially about to jump into this. So I got a sword, got a cloak. It was pretty rough draft first year kit. Yep.
Plate armor.
Plate armor. So I'm not gonna do the dive. I'll just do something simple. So I did this, and I went to fantasynamegenerator.com, and I found the name
Yes.
Allfell. Like, oh, that's kind of
It's a
different.
good
Allfell,
name.
that's kind of cool. So like, now I'm gonna go with like a name. So I started going through my Bible, like kind of cool name. Gideon. Gideon's a pretty cool guy. Gideon did a lot. Let's go with Gideon. So Gideon Allfell, the character was born. Wrote
It's a
a
great name.
backstory. It really is. It is a great name. So then I go having a time of my life. We reach one point in the battle where Ron, there's this break in the wall with the Hearthguard. At this point, the allegiance is this is the second battle of the
I
Thornwood.
think it was.
The Rangers, Kingsmen, Sea Lords, Hearthguard, the Order in
Yeah,
the
it
middle.
is
This
the
was
same.
the second official year of the Order. So, Brother Killian grabs me like, hey, there's a hole. We can get the flag. Follow me. Like, oh, this is epic. Absolutely. This is why I signed up to go. And it's raining. It's a little wet. We run in down a hill. I'm wearing new Felon Fair sponsor us medieval boots. And they're really nice boots, but I start to lose grip a little bit because it's slick, so I'm starting to slide. There's a guy there named Kieran. He's terrifying, great guy, gives great hugs, but
We'll
terrifying,
hopefully be on the show at some
huge
point as
man,
well.
huge man. He has a huge bearskin on, runs after me to kill me, obviously. and I slip, and I go airborne. He's trying to stop. He can't hit. He's trying to stop me. He kicks my head as I was just running through, and then I hit my head on a rock. I IRL get knocked out. I'm out for a little bit. I wake up with amnesia. I don't know what's going on. I can't open my eyeball. Rush to the hospital. Get checked out. I was fine. I had a severe grade concussion with micro-grade amnesia. It was a whole thing. And you guys actually drove me to the hospital, which is very nice. It was in my car, but
You got the memories back though.
I did. I pretty much got all of it back within a week. But I wake up in the hospital. I even have a selfie of me too, and I'm covered with like battle paint on and my kit's on because I was pretty loopy with it. But there's at one point they're putting me on the hospital chair to go in to get X-rays. Like, oh, we're gonna cut off your shirt. And I remember vividly being like, no, this shirt costs more than the hospital bill because that time it did. So I take everything off, get X-rayed, and then it's really like you're fine. You got whacked on the head really hard, but you're good to go. Like, oh, thank God. My friends, they're out in the lobby. They drove here. They're waiting for me. I gotta call them and let them know I'm okay. I grab the phone. I called Jacob, like, hey, are you guys concerned? I just got great news. I'm fine. It was just a severe concussion. Jacob cuts me off mid-sentence, letting him know I'm alive. Like, oh, hey, Eli, wait. Yeah, can we get like 2 large fries, like a milkshake? And at this point, I'm raving. I'm like, you guys got food without me? Literally, I was dying. Your first action is food. Like, well, we got hungry. That's when I knew I had great friends.
I gotta share this from my perspective. So like, yeah, when the battle was happening and you first fell, I remember it being because I was a Hearthguard the first year, so I was your enemy, which kind of sucked. But anyways, I was up on the hill, like about to take the Kingsman flag, like I was behind the Kingsman line, with a couple other Hearthguard. I probably wouldn't have got the flag, but one of them was going to. They called a stop fight. The fight actually ended because of that concussion.
Yeah,
which gave you guys the win because you were in the lead.
Did.
I'm pretty sure
we were about to lose too.
So good job. But I remember my first thought was like, "It's not Eli, is it?" I'm like, "It can't be, but it has to be," and it was. Yeah, we took you to the hospital. There was that guy who was like a doctor there. I haven't seen him.
He has the cutest son in the world.
I don't think he was there this year. But he's the reason we went and got food. Because he's like, oh, it's going to take him a while. We should go get food. And then Jacob had to buy him beer.
Which is funny because he was not 21 when he did that.
He was not.
He's legal now, so it's fine. But yeah, that was illegal.
Yeah, I don't know how that happened. The beard made him look older.
It was a wild time. So then I reached a point with the character like, okay, Gideon has some severe trauma. I mean, I get back, I have a head bandage on and everything. I'm a healer for the rest of the weekend, which was pretty cool. It was fun. It was enough to come back. And I'm like, you know what? That was such an epic way to go out. I'm gonna kill the character. So in Rangers lore, Gideon Allfell died in battle at the second Thorn. I was like, okay, well, now I kind of need a character. Back to fantasy name generator. Couldn't find anything this time. I didn't like it. And I'm playing Skyrim. I'm like, ooh, Rayloff. That's kind of a cool name. He's somewhere near Hammerfell. But like, ooh, that's cool. I'll stick with that. Nice.
Curved swords.
So like, I'll go with Rayloff. And then back to fantasy name generator, I found Oshen, Oshen. And I saw them down there. We're getting to that. So Rayloff Oshen became my character. Made a lore that when Gideon died, Gideon gave Rayloff his mom's engagement ring. He had a girl. Clearly didn't work out because he's dying. So he's like, give this back to my mom. Last thing I want to do. Make sure it goes to her. Her name was Otto. Okay, I'll get this back to her. That was kind of where his quest started, and that's when he started writing down lore and everything. Then filler episodes after that. We had a point where he finds her finally. She died. leaves the ring at the grave. Talk to Hugo of the Order, who knew her a little bit, and it kind of goes back like, okay, well, go back to Old Shire, my home. Just kind of call it the end of the day, um, and then goes into his lore more, and he has now discovered that he's not actually from Saltborn. He's off of the shores of Throy, and he's not from Oldshire now, and his last name isn't technically O'Shen. It's Saltborn. Mac Saltborn of the Sea Lords is his father, which Mac of Heartwood. Timothy, I think Mac Walsh. I'm gonna butcher your name, dude, and I'm sorry, but he's actually a super cool guy. He's actually a survival trainer, really cool guy. He knows his stuff. The books at like Home Depot and stuff that has like the survival training stuff. He wrote those. It's that guy. Really cool dude.
Yeah,
He's been a part of the
that is
event
really cool.
for a while. So in lore, we combine stories, and he is now my father. So that's kind of where my story's at, and that's the overview of, I guess, my weekend warrior character. So now Rayloff Saltborn is thriving and everything else.
That's really cool. I like that you brought up fantasy name generator because that's how I got Maldar. Funny enough, it was like it was that one shot that you mentioned that Zach ran. I got the letter in the mail too. I literally went to fantasy name generator and I got like something with the name Maldar, and I think Maldar might have been the last name, and then Durlin was a first name on another one, and I just like Maldar Durlin. I combined them.
Which with that wasn't your first D&D experience.
No, so actually, my first D&D experience was in high school with one of my friends, Bradley, who, if anybody has followed my YouTube history long enough, they would recognize him from the Caging the Fez podcast I did years ago. He's a character for sure. He's also in some of the old Doctor Who fan films and stuff. I think it was a Thanksgiving Day like party at school. Like we didn't have actual work to do, and he's like, "Hey, we're gonna play Dungeons and Dragons." But I'm pretty sure we only had like notebook paper, and like I think he had a set of dice. So like we all kind of just made these characters, and he helped us make characters. Looking back on it, I don't know how much of it was actually like D&D 5th edition or more just kind of what he remembered from D&D, but we made it work.
That's cool.
And my very first character was Nicholas Mage, who was a wizard. And my one friend was an apple fighter. His character was an apple named Chip. And there was this whole thing where we were in some like dungeon, and there was a zombie, Christopher Lloyd, that followed me around, and it eventually like became my adopted zombie Christopher Lloyd's son or something weird. It was a weird campaign.
That sounds like
that was my
standard
first
D&D though.
Yeah, it does. So like when Zach eventually kind of got back into it, I was like, "Oh, D&D, I know it, but I haven't done it in forever." And I didn't really fully remember how it all worked. So yeah, I went to Fantasy Name Generator, rolled up Maldar. Maldar died the first session, so I had to slightly change the name to Moondar for the next character, who I'm pretty sure I literally used the same character sheet. Was a barbarian originally, I think. So, yeah, it was kind of funny.
Nice. That's awesome. Because yeah, that's the whole thing with D&D. You get to learn way more about people than you should know the first time you meet someone. But yeah, that's cool because you get all the cool experiences and stuff with it.
Yeah, definitely. I guess Weekend Warrior for me was like you had mentioned before, because I found out about it through Ron, who posted. I think he posted a YouTube video about it or something. Because he was, as far as I know, Ron and Felon Fair kind of teamed up on it. I do remember when we went to Weekend Warrior, Ron specifically said he started it because he went to a LARP and the king was out of character and it made him upset, so he wanted something better. We do plan on having Ron on here at some point, hopefully Zan as well, to talk about how Weekend Warrior became a thing. But yeah, so we found it through Ron. I'm pretty sure we found it like right before Weekend Warrior 2020. And it was like during COVID, and I was like, "Hey, this would be cool to do, but we probably can't do it this year."
Because of COVID and budget and everything else. I'm in high school at the time.
Let's see.
I don't have a job.
Can we build a full kit in a week?
Pretty much what it was. Like, yeah, I do technically have the money, but it's all I got and time. Like, well, let's plan on this because this time I was looking at joining the 501st.
I remember that.
Like
yeah, I was thinking about that too. Yeah,
and that's on my bucket list. It's definitely down the road.
Weekend Warrior saved me from the 501st. Not that I needed saved because I'll probably still do it eventually. But
yeah, because Reggie,
definitely.
Just going back to just even with Redemption Studios, that's where I met the 501st. You had some volunteers come down for filming, which is a really cool experience. I had it on my desk. Let's see if I can find it. I had a trading card from one of those guys.
Oh yeah, I remember that because they all have their own number, like the stormtroopers.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I'll have to find it, but yeah, I have like an autograph card from one of the 501st members.
And you told Jacob about Weekend Warrior.
Yeah.
We'll also have him on here at some point, hopefully.
Yep. I begged and pleaded for that man to sign up, and you're like, dude, I know if you go, you're gonna love this. Suck it up, spend the money. I convinced him for so much. I got him into Magic. I got him into Weekend Warrior.
It's funny because he's normally super cheap and like doesn't want to get into stuff, but you got him into Weekend Warrior, and I feel like ever since then you've gotten him into other stuff a lot easier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was fun because it was the three of us our first year. Like, all right, 2021, let's do this, and we made the trip down. It was big for all three of us. We didn't do like. We didn't have a sleepover at that point. It was like, yeah, let's go down to South Carolina.
It was like 9 hours, and that was
9-hour drive. Like, we got a hotel, not planned hotel, spontaneous hotel. That was actually kind of I will make it brief, but it was like, yeah, let's camp it. Let's off-grid it because we're camping when you're there. Like, yeah, let's just do it. And we get there like. Hammocks aren't going to work for this. There wasn't a tree on that site. Like, we don't really have a tent. Can't really buy a tent. Let's get a hotel. But you're like, I don't want to like lose the spot or like stuff like that. It's like, we'll have to sneak out of our campsite to go get a hotel. A, to not look like wimps. And second, because we don't want to get charged more for it. So we sneak out.
Because there was like a cancellation fee or something like that.
Yeah, there was a cancellation fee and we didn't want to pay it because that was dumb. So we sneak out, we find a hotel nearby. It was Country Inn, very nice hotel. And it's like, so-and-so, $100. Like, oh, well, this is kind of expensive. Maybe we don't do this. Like, wait, I have a AAA card. It was also
raining. It was also raining that night. So
we
didn't have tents because we planned on using hammocks. So we're like, well, we could sleep in the trunk, but probably not with all our gear.
So like, well, yeah, I have a AAA card. My mom said we could get a hotel discount, and we got a pretty decent discount. Okay, well, this works. So we get a hotel. It was super nice. Had a good time. And we wake up. We get set to go. We shower. And we're like, well, the cancellation fee, we have to check out. Like, you're right. So we drive down early in the morning, sneak back in to the campsite, twiddle our thumbs for 10 minutes, like, and we pull out, like, oh, yeah, what a great night's sleep out in the woods. Let's check out. And we talked.
And it totally worked.
It totally worked. It should have, but it totally worked. And we didn't get charged a cancellation fee. So we paid like an extra $40 for a campsite we didn't even use. And then it was at that point, I think Jacob realized he totally forgot his Weekend Warrior kit at home. And that was a whole different story, which he can go into.
But he got a free shirt from Ron.
He did get a free shirt.
We all need to do that this year.
Yes. I feel like some of them are not going to
if Ron's watching this, we're not doing that this year.
Wink.
Yeah, so that was fun. That was like my first, I think that was probably my first big like trip with just friends.
Mm-hmm.
Like without family or some kind of older supervision. Granted, I was 20 something I don't even know how old I am anymore. I was in my 20s.
Me and Jacob were in our senior year of high school.
I would have been, okay, let's do the math now, because I'm 25.
Yeah, we were both seniors, so like, it was a senior trip.
I would have been 22 22 or 23 first year. I think 20.
It was 22 because that was your Taylor Swift year. Because you
Yes,
played it.
it was my Taylor Swift year. You're coming up on your Taylor Swift year now, aren't you?
I don't know about you, but I'm feeling like that's a copyrighted lyric we can't say on this podcast.
Hey, 22 is a number. I don't know what you're talking about.
True.
But yeah, so like that was the first trip. Weekend Warrior. My first year, I was like, all right, Astrid Stormclaw. That was the first character I played in your original campaign. Barbarian, basically Thor, kind of.
Pretty much.
I was like, all right, Astrid Stormclaw, awesome Hearthguard Viking name. This is gonna be cool. I show up. There's like 2 or 3 other Astrids in the Hearthguard. Also, when you get to Weekend Warrior the first time, it's kind of weird because you're not sure how to introduce yourself. It's like, do I use my character name or my real name? So I kind of used both. And every time I said my real name first, people assumed that was my character name. So I kind of just went with it. I'm like, all right, Jericho is my character. After the first year, I think it was around. I'm trying to remember when we started the campaign where I started playing Maldar. Because it would have been 3 years. It would have been that summer, but I think. Yeah, because Maldar existed at that point.
Yeah.
But it wasn't as much of a character yet. So eventually I kind of just was like, all right, well, the thing that makes the most sense is to be Maldar for Weekend Warrior. So second year, Maldar, Durlin, Viking. And then, like I said, kind of through your campaign and Weekend Warrior, taking the character from like a monster hunting Viking type character into more of what is now a seafaring paladin. When I joined the Order, because I saw the Order our first year, and then at the end of the second year event, so 2022 was our second year. That weekend, I'm like, all right, I'm joining the Order next year. And
Did you talk to Corwin?
Yeah, great company.
Sponsor
Also want to get him on the show. Everybody I mentioned, I just want to get on the show, and sponsor us. Give us an order discount.
Ooh, that'd be awesome. That'd be cool.
But yeah, so I talked to him. I bought some stuff from him, and he was in the Order, and he was cool. Had the Obi-Wan vibe to him. And then I talked to Zan actually that weekend and Ron of 22. And I kind of talked to them about joining the Order, because at that point you could only join the Order after going. You had to be a part of a different faction for 1 year, and you could only stay in the Order for 1 year. I think at that point it was kind of in the air if they were changing it. It sounded like they were trying to change it, but they hadn't completely changed it yet. So when I started building my kit for the Order and everything, really cool. Corwin and Hugo both in the Order. I pretty much talked to them throughout the year, building my kit, building my character and everything. And they were super welcoming and helpful with that. So that was really cool. And then going this past year, 2023, it was probably the most like defining Weekend Warrior for me as far as the character so far. Because like turning from the Hearthguard to the Order was everything kind of just clicked for my character. I don't know. It's hard to explain.
It's like the stepping stone of like, all right, this is what I gotta do. And it's kind of like even for character sense too, you're leaving everything you knew, and a really 180. Like you could not have chosen a more opposite faction from like brutal blood killing machine to peacekeeping protector of the land, from a bloody red to a pearl white garment.
Yeah, it is pretty much opposite. But it's cool because, I've always liked knights, but I never, gonna be honest, not a huge fan of the yellow and black, and might be my Hearthguard showing.
Bumblebee.
I'm sure the Kingsmen are great people, but wasn't a huge fan of the colors. But I saw the Order. I'm like, Jedi, Paladins, yes. Because I was starting to, as I started playing more D&D, I'm like, oh, Paladins are cool. joining the order, and a lot of it, again, thanks to your campaign, like the character development from Maldar in that campaign, where I went through a lot of trauma and like went into kind of a dark phase where I was more of a bloodthirsty character, like a barbarian, even though I was a blood hunter the whole time and still am, to going through that point. There was a turning point in that campaign where Maldar started seeking Barnabas, which was like the religion in your world,
Mm-hmm.
and started seeking that and like kind of turned his ways, and it mirrors that kind of in the Weekend Warrior, because there's
Cool.
the lore about the Hearthguard raiding the Temple of Luminos, which kind of fit. I was able to fit that into my backstory, that I was like watching that happen, so I'm like, all right, this is my waking up point, to seeing like what doing has been everything. So going to Killian, and also knowing Ron from the past couple of years, I always kind of wanted to be in the same faction as Ron. I know he was originally Hearthguard, and that was part of the reason I went that way originally, and then he was in the Order instead. So, really cool working with him. And then I had like some really cool roleplay moments with the Sea Lords, fighting with the Sirens, being the Merman, which is how that came to be. And now I'm kind of just hopefully helping develop the Order, and building that character a bit more through that.
Super cool.
So,
that's awesome.
And hopefully we'll get some new Order members here soon.
Down the road. That's awesome.
Eventually, yeah. I think eventually we need to get all of our group in the Order. That'd be like for 1 year, everybody, like Jacob, you
on the same
Noah,
side. Mm-hmm.
Hunter. Yeah, it'd be cool.
That'd be cool. Yeah, because
that's
we
the
all
cool
talk.
thing. Go ahead.
Yeah,
that's the cool thing like, about the Order.
You go.
The Order is the best faction to do that type of thing, because it technically already has the whole like you join for your year of service in the lore of the faction, and then you can stay. Now you can stay as long as you want, and you can go first year in the Order. You don't have to have been in a different faction, but it still kind of has that ingrained into the lore. So if you wanted to, you could stay, but you could also join for 1 year and then go back to your other faction.
That's cool. Be cool if we all did it the 1 year. That'd be cool. All of us in our helmets talking to each other. We all look like knights who are chattering.
Mm-hmm.
Throw it in the
evening.
In the evening.
In the evening, chatter.
Some nightly chatter.
Mm-hmm.
That's my first segue. I'm gonna get better at it.
Yeah, we're gonna have to come up with some more slogans. If you guys have any suggestions for slogans, I know I have a document somewhere, but I forgot to bring it up. Also, if you are interested in any of the things we've talked about, follow Redemption Studios on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. It's pretty much everywhere. The podcast you can find on all the podcast platforms. It is the Nightly Chatter Podcast. Weekend Warrior experience. Go check it out. It's really cool. If you go, you can meet us, which would be kind of cool. So
very cool.
We will sign autographs. We will sign autographs.
We will sign autographs. We will absolutely charge for autographs because we're poor and it's just expensive for us as it is for you to get there. I'm charging USD.
If you got actually here's what I'll do. All right, if you will, let's see. We're gonna have to like plan this out. If you are a fan of the podcast, we are going to hide a message in one of the episodes. If you bring that message to us in game at Weekend Warrior, I will give you blood coin.
I'll give you a.
But I'll do it in the next episode because I got to think about it.
That'd be cool. That'd be awesome.
Also, definitely don't steal a lock of my hair either.
Do it. I will give you money.
Where can the audience find you and your
I do have an Instagram. Ranger.of.Alaron on Instagram. I post my backstory there, kind of what events I'll be at, little kid updates, stuff like that. Heavily just repping the Rangers, just sharing all that. Yeah, you can check me out there. Feel free to like and follow. I have a small. I do have a fan. I have one official fan. If you would like to be that second fan, let me know.
Nice. I'll be another fan for sure.
You're always my fan.
Of course. Other than that, is there anything else you want to kind of bring up or mention before we wrap up the episode?
Nothing I can think of. As always, if you have ever topics you want us to cover, let us know. We'll do our best to accommodate. If you ever want something, to talk about, don't email me, email him. He'll deal with it because I don't want to, and we'll talk about it.
You can leave comments here or on the Instagram if you want to. I will read them.
I won't.
Yeah, we will hopefully have some more guests on here soon. This is kind of just our core group, and then hopefully we'll have our other hosts next time. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this adventure with us. I hope that you will tune in again. So, yeah, we will see you guys next time.